In this presentation, we will explore the work of thought leader Dr. Michael Fullan. Michael Fullan is an author, speaker, educational consultant. He's also the Global Leadership Director of New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, and he's a worldwide authority on educational reform, particularly with a mandate of helping to achieve the moral purpose of all children learning. Michael Fullan is a former dean of the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education at the University of Toronto. He advises policymakers and local leaders around the world to provide leadership in education. In his 2019 publication, Nuance, and the 2020 publication, second edition of Leading in a Culture of Change, Dr. Fullan identifies the characteristics of the new types of leaders who will be able to get beneath the surface, understand, and leverage deep change. Fullan calls such leaders nuanced because they learn and grasp how things work and then figure out how to make them work better. They are able to mobilize the most people and the best knowledge for solving complex problems. Michael Fullan posits that societies are becoming less and less equal, thus calling for nuanced leaders that can get below the surface to reshape and redirect trends. He suggests that educational leaders have both a micro, how do I improve the local situation, and macro, how do I reverse the trend of inequity in society, role to play. Have you ever known a leader who is technically smart and yet strategically rather clueless? How about a leader who has good ideas but is politically naive? Or perhaps you know a leader who uses a particular change strategy and succeeds marvelously while another leader uses the same model and fails miserably. How about a leader that works extremely hard and gets nowhere compared to another leader who puts in half the time but gets twice as far? Michael Fullan suggests that the difference actually may be nuance. If you were to look up the word nuance in a dictionary, you might find a definition that sounds something like a subtle difference in shade of meaning or expression or sound. Fullan talks about two opposites, surfacers and nuancers. He explains that surfacers treat problems as if they are technical only. Just let's get the right solutions and put them in place. Nuancers, however, work with principles that lead to adjustable actions. Nuanced leaders, he suggests, are leaders who see below the surface, grasp hidden patterns, find new pathways to alter and shape better outcomes, and have a burning desire to make things better for the vast majority. Against all odds, nuanced leaders believe that they can help the group tackle seemingly insurmountable problems. They have a profound belief in humanity and networks of action that will generate lasting breakthroughs. Dr. Fullan offers this formal definition of nuanced leaders. Nuanced leaders have a curiosity about what is possible, openness to other people, sensitivity to context, and a loyalty to a better future. They see below the surface, enabling them to detect patterns and their consequences for the system. They connect people to their own and each other's humanity. They don't lead, they teach. They change people's emotions, not just their minds. They have an instinct for orchestration. They foster sinews of success. They are humble in the face of challenges, determined for the group to be successful, and proud to celebrate success. They develop incredibly accountable organizations because accountability gets built into the culture. And above all, they are courageously and relentlessly committed to changing the system for the betterment of humanity. As you might agree, Michael Fullan says that change is messy, but it also offers great potential for creative breakthroughs. Fullan tells us that although change is unpredictable, you can set up conditions that help to guide the process. And understanding the change process is less about innovation and more about innovativeness. It's less about strategy and more about strategizing. He does suggest it is like rocket science. Strategizing is an interactive process that requires continual feedback between thought and action. Successful strategies actually evolve from experience. Understanding change involves understanding the people, the ones you are leading into change. The more complex the change, the more that people with the problem must be a part of the solution. Based on over 40 years of studying change, Fullan and his research team have developed a set of insights that have culminated in the 9 strategies listed on this slide. We will delve into each one. However, it's important to note that these 9 strategies need to work in concert. They are not standalone strategies. As David Coate retired at the end of a distinguished career as the CEO of Honeywell, he was asked this question: what is the most important lesson you've learned about leadership? His answer was very interesting. Coate said, "Your job as a leader is to be right at the end of the meeting, not at the beginning of the meeting. It's your job to flesh out all the facts, all the opinions, because you will get measured on whether you made a good decision, not whether it was your idea in the beginning." "I have a reputation of being decisive," he said. "Most people would say being decisive is what you want in a business leader. But it is possible for decisiveness to be a bad thing, because with bigger decisions, you make bigger mistakes." In the 2019 book entitled Nuance, Why Some Leaders Succeed and Others Fail, Michael Fullan placed this insight into the part of a framework that addressed the importance of joint determination. He notes that complex change must be approached as a matter of joint determination. The more complex the problem, the more the people with the problem must be part of the solving the problem. This is not just a matter of commitment. In fact, the people with the problem can have some of the best insights. Insights can only be accessed through interaction between and among the leaders and the others in the situation. Newly appointed leaders often have a mandate to bring about change. The first problem that new leaders often face is the too fast, too slow dilemma. If a leader comes on too strong, the culture will rebel. If the leader is overly respectful of the culture, then he's in danger of being absorbed into the status quo. Change-savvy leadership involves careful entry into the new setting, listening and learning from those who've been there longer, engaging in fact-finding and joint problem-solving, carefully diagnosing the situation, forthrightly addressing people's concerns, being enthusiastic, genuine, sincere about the changed circumstances, obtaining buy-in for what needs fixing, and developing a credible plan for making that fix. The points that stand out to me here are careful entry, listening, and engaging in fact-finding and joint problem-solving. Basically, these are all about the importance of attending to the new relationships that have to be developed. Leaders must develop relationships first with the people in a situation before they can push on challenges and needed changes. Each new leadership position, each new context requires new learning. Humility balanced with confidence is a good thing to have. Effective leaders need to be contextually literate. They need to understand the culture in which they are working. As the old saying goes in the musical The Music Man, you gotta know the territory. As you move forward in your leadership careers, make a point to remind yourself that each time a leader moves into a new organization or new department, he or she is automatically de-skilled. They don't understand the new culture yet. Actually, research suggests that it takes a good 6 months or so of immersion in a new context to fully understand the situation. When you introduce something new, even if there has been a pre-implementation preparation process, the first months are usually bumpy. New skills and understanding require a learning curve. There are several myths that surround change. The first myth is that there will be some immediate gains. Not necessarily so. The next myth talks about that the implementer, the cost ratio is negative. Well, costs are immediate and concrete, while benefits are actually distant and theoretical at that point. And thirdly, really don't expect compliments. People involved in change are usually not having a good time. So what does a leader, especially a new leader, need to do? Well, leaders need to be aware that their job is to help the organization get through change, through the process, to the point where benefits will start to accrue. It's also important to remember that change will stand or fall initially not on the cognitive rationale and understanding of the change, but actually more on the emotional connections to the change. As Fullan notes, change is rather sticky. Fullan and his colleagues have long studied change, and they have found that the development of individual and collective capacity actually takes longer and requires greater effort than we would more normally think. If we dwell on the possibility of that dip, we may actually get nowhere. If you plow ahead, though, you may only have the illusion of change. Change takes time. Leaders need to spend time, months perhaps, setting the stage. Then they need to establish teams, collaborative teams that will observe, collect data, and help solve problems. And finally, it's important to explain what you're doing and why. If people walk the talk every day to each other, it is a sign that things are happening and that people are learning. If we dwell on the possibility of that dip, we may actually get nowhere. If you plow ahead, though, you may only have the illusion of change. Change takes time. Leaders need to spend time, months perhaps, setting the stage. Then they need to establish teams, collaborative teams that will observe, collect data, and help solve problems. And finally, it's important to explain what you're doing and why. If people walk the talk every day to each other, it is a sign that things are happening and that people are learning. Fullan and his team of researchers have found that there is a tendency for leaders, particularly new leaders, to overplan on paper. Thought leader Doug Reeves actually captured this phenomenon in his 2000 Noon publication as he stated, "The size and prettiness of the plan is inversely related to the quality of action and the impact on student learning." Reeves also noted that too many ideas can lead to what is called the law of initiative fatigue. So plans that are too fat or have too many ideas at the front can actually overload the change process. Skinny plans are actually more likely to become living documents. The title of this slide says behavior before beliefs. Well, of course, beliefs matter, and the leaders need to work on them from day one in the change process. But if the issue at hand is changing beliefs, then you really want to stimulate new behaviors early in the process. Beliefs are not shaken or changed necessarily by research evidence, but actually through new experiences in non-threatening circumstances. New behaviors can actually alter beliefs. Fullan also says that we should go outside to get better inside. Many people have not had experiences outside of their current setting, and the culture they are in reinforces a rather blinkered vision. Giving people new experiences and opportunities to talk about them with their peers can be powerful. Getting them out to observe in other schools, other districts, other classrooms is really helpful. Change is strange and not always logical. Many times change is met with a litany of objections and reactions. I'm sure you've heard people saying, "Oh, it won't work here. Oh, we've tried that. Oh, we don't have time." Fullan says that if you want to kill a good idea, mandate it. However, if you expose people to good ideas, use the group to change the group, and participate as a fellow learner, change is possible. Generally, it's not usually best to talk about change too long before moving ahead. But once you do start a change, it will be critical to increase communication from day one. Fullan's research reveals that communication during implementation is huge, and leaders who participate as learners with the staff in moving the organization forward have the most impact. The bottom line is that once change starts in practice, the leader had better be there. Communication during the implementation of change serves a double function. On one hand, it gives the leader an opportunity to learn how the implementation is going. The leader can gain insights about what is working and information that can feed back to smaller and larger groups. On the other hand, communication during the implementation change is very helpful because it identifies problems more readily and they can be addressed early in the process. Leading in a culture of change is about ongoing, daily, focused, inside and out communication while doing the work. This slide talks about the problems and cautions us about too much excitement prior to the implementation of a change. The point here is not to dampen initial enthusiasm, but to realize that genuine excitement actually comes from accomplishing something, not from imagining it. Knowledgeable leaders really strive for small early successes. They acknowledge real issues and problems. They admit mistakes. They protect their people, and they celebrate successes all along the way. Knowledgeable leaders even see setbacks as problems to be solved, and this results in an even greater sense of fulfillment once they're addressed. Successful change, as Fullan notes, is really more like a crescendo, not a rally cry. In successful change cases, people work gradually at first, then with greater intensity as they reach a point where success is reachable and obvious. Leading change is about helping others to focus and learn. And remember, we are more likely to learn something from those who disagree with us than we are from those who agree with us. In a change process, resistors are crucial when it comes to the politics of implementation. So being alert to the differences of opinion is absolutely vital. Becoming a lead learner as a principal will be invaluable as you embark on change processes. According to Fullan, becoming a lead learner consists of the 6 overlapping aspects listed on this page: participating as a learner, listen, learn, and lead in that order, being an expert and an apprentice at the same time, developing others to the point that you become dispensable, being relentlessly persistent and courageous, and focusing on the how as well as the what of change. The need for effective and ethical principals is more critical than ever today. Great principals are first and foremost committed to success for each and every student. They know that the key to success is the quality of teaching and learning experienced in classrooms every day. And school leaders who embrace their roles as the lead learning principal, they serve as guiding lights in the change process. I do like this quote from Michael Fullan, and I think it's a nice way to bring our presentation here to a close. It really is that these days, doing nothing as a leader is a great risk. So you might as well take the risks that are worth doing. These links will take you to 3 very short videos that were created by Michael Fullan in 2020 in response to the whole situation that COVID-19 pandemic has thrust upon us. Each of these videos are approximately 2.5 minutes long. But I think it'll give you an opportunity to see Michael Fullan and to hear his voice and to learn a little bit about where he is in his research and his ongoing work.